everyone! Welcome to the best part of my Magic 2019 set review, and that is we're reviewing the best color, green. I like green. Whether it's the best color in the set remains to be seen, but it's the best color. It's the color of Colossal Dreadmaw, what's not to love? But like my other videos, I am reviewing mostly for limited. If you want a bit more context about how I'm analyzing these cards, go back and watch my video on white, because I explained everything at the beginning there. So, yeah. But jumping right into it, we have Blanchwood Armor, which is a 3-mana enchantment, which enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each forest you control. So this is an interesting one. Like, I've talked about auras a bit before, where you really have to make them good enough, because like auras are very risky. It definitely has the risk of getting a 2-for-1. That also said, it's important to note in this format, green-white auras is kind of like that green-white's like thing. And there's a few aura payoffs, but honestly not that many looking at it, to make you want to run auras like that you wouldn't otherwise run. But that said, Blanchwood Armor itself, I think is fine. It's like, it doesn't give any keywords. Like, normally you want keywords and stats on your auras. Like, that's why like On Sarah's Wings and Dub are so good in Dominaria, because they give good stats and relevant keywords. This one just gives real, like, solid stats and scales of the game. Like, in limited, like, assuming you're playing like a normal deck and you're not like, you just didn't draft like the sweet mono green deck, about half your lands are going to be forests. So it's like, you're not usually playing this on turn 3, but it's like, maybe like turn 5 or 6, like this is essentially +3/+3, and it scales for the game. I think it's fine if you have good targets for it, so tramplers and flyers. The fact that it doesn't give trample or anything, you need to be able to get a way to push this damage in, and you need one of those two things, and it can really get in a lot of damage that way if you can get those things. But that said, I don't think it's super high priority, and I don't think it's an amazing enchantment, but it's playable. Next up we have Bristling Boar, which is a 4-mana 4/3 that cannot be blocked by more than one creature. I think this is a fine 4-drop. It makes it like, I mean, they must have a 3-power creature, otherwise they can only chump, which is like relevant. Like, they can't like double block because they're 2/2s. Since there's a token deck in the format, that's relevant. And yeah, no, and it works well with tricks, because it's like they don't do like the double block to prevent a trick or something. It's nothing insane. Like, its stats 4/3 or for 4 mana, but I think it's fine. It's a solid 4-drop. Next up we have a Centaur Courser, which is a 3-mana 3/3, and this is fine. And by fine, I mean it's quite good. 3-mana 3/3 is a solid body, it's good stats, it passes the vanilla test, and you'll be happy to run these, and it's a solid 3-drop, which is arguably the most important drop in limited. And it's just good stats. Like in like previous sets, like there was like a little bit of creep in terms of the 3-drop slot, in terms of their power and toughness, and a lot of things were 3/3s with upside. And like this set appears to be more like to the base level of like power and toughness and comparing to the vanilla test. And this will be very good based on what we've seen elsewhere. Next up we have a Colossal Dreadmaw. Now this is a new and unique and exciting card. It is a 6-mana 6/6 with trample. That said, I mean, we like to make jokes about it, but Colossal Dreadmaw is a real solid 6-drop. Like, 6-mana 6/6, I'm fine with that. And trample, probably one of the best keywords to have on a 6/6. Yeah, no, I mean, it finishes games. I'd run the first 2 in my deck and be happy with it. It's just a good finisher, like, at common. There's not much else to say, it's a Colossal Dreadmaw. There really hasn't been a format yet, or it hasn't, like, at least been, like, decent. Next we have Colossal Majesty, which is a 3-mana enchantment, and at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control a creature card with power 4 or greater, draw a card. We had this again with Sarkhan's unboxing video in the previous episode, but I don't actually remember what the actual name of it, but I'm just gonna call it Sarkhan's unboxing video. Where it cared about things like power 4 or greater. And this one is another one where it requires that you have the same stuff. It's an enchantment that requires you have the creatures of power 4 or greater. This one is just having it, and it's not on cast, which makes it a little bit easier. At the same time, though, it's not as explosive. Like, getting an extra card is nice every turn, but it isn't like essentially attaching like a deal 4 to all of your powerful creatures. Like, that's such a more powerful effect. That said, I just could see this being like quite nice. Like, if you have enough stuff of power 4 and greater, like if everything apart from like your 2 and 3 drops is power 4 or greater, and you have like 4 to 5 things with this power, I'd consider running the first one of these, because it's like, if they don't have answers to your large threats, you have large threats, and this is really going to help you like secure down that game. That said, it is a 3-drop enchantment which does nothing. It does not affect the board state. If you're behind, it doesn't do much. But I think if you can get the enough like stuff that is at that higher power level, which you're in green, that's not as hard to get because green likes big creatures. This can definitely be an engine and help get away with games. But I think most of the time when you're having like games where this is like activating and good, you're already doing alright. You're at least at parity with your opponent, and it helps you maybe secure that win, but it does not help you when you're behind, which is something to note when you're playing these games, playing limited. And this, it's just keep it in mind. I love the art on this though. Next we have Daggerback Basilisk, which is a 3-mana 2/2 with Death Touch. I'm a big fan of Death Touchers. It makes attacking really awkward for your opponent. They're not great. Like, this one's not bad. It's okay as an attacker because it will get in. But, I mean, it can help stop stuff that's like big threats and stuff. That said, a lot of the big threats we've seen so far in the other colors were flyers. Like, sure, this will trade with a Colossal Dreadmaw, but a lot of the big like dragons and like the demons and stuff that we've seen that like are kind of the really scary stuff in this format, this doesn't stop. So I think it's fine. It's a fine 3-drop. I like Death Touchers. Honestly, I probably overvalue them a bit much, but it's not bad. You could do worse for 3 drops. Next up is Declare Dominance, which is a 5-mana sorcery, which says target creature gets +3/+3 until end of turn. All creatures able to block it this turn do so. This is an interesting card, because like there's a few applications of it. One of them is you get your big creature, and essentially you get to like you cast this on your Colossal Dreadmaw, you go into the red zone. It's a 9/9 now. They have to block with everything. You get to eat whatever they want, and like this just gets +3/+3, so that's decent. And you get to do that. And honestly, that's not a bad card. Like, you do have to. It is 5 mana, and you do have to have a good creature that does it. But even if you have like, I don't know, a 3/3, like this pumps it up to a 6/6, and that will at least allow you to like do a pseudo fight. The thing is that if they have enough board state, you will lose your creature. And like that alone, I don't think would be good. Like, that is like a bit too narrow and very situational, even if it can be very good. But there's the other option of using this as you cast this on your little guy that you want to get through, and that lets you get the rest of your party through, and like do a nice like finishing Alpha Strike. And I feel like those two modes together makes this fine. I wouldn't run more than one of them though, just because it is situational and having a creature to have it work, and they're both very situational situations that they're in, and it is 5 mana. But I feel like the situations where it is good, it is very good, and it could just be this blowout. But And obviously if anything like this indestructible, not that we haven't really seen much indestructible, and it can be very nice, but yeah, I don't mind this. But cast this on that Basilisk with Death Touch. Oh, that's very nice. That's a good one. But you know, Declare Dominance, it's not bad, but it's nothing amazing. Or First Strikers. Yeah. But yeah, no, I run the first one because it has like utility in several situations where green like kind of wants those effects. But yeah. Next up we have Druid of Horns, which is a 4-mana 2/3. And it says, whenever you cast an aura spell that targets Druid of Horns, create a 3/3 green beast creature token. So this is like one of the first of like the aura payoffs that we've seen. And I don't like it. Like, the auras you want to be playing, you want to be like, this isn't a card that makes you want to like play like the bad auras necessarily. And like most of the best auras are the removal ones in white, and you don't want to cast those on your own creatures. If this said just you cast an aura spell, period, I'd be more into it. But the fact that it's only auras that target it, it's a 4-mana 2/3, which is abysmal stats, and even you get a 3/3. Like, on average, you're getting essentially probably about 5, like, yeah, just make it consistent enough. You're having to run more auras than you want to in your deck, and I just don't like this. I just don't like the aura deck, and I don't think it really gets there. And this isn't a payoff I'm looking to get. Like, obviously the payoff is really good if you have some of the good, like, auras, but you're only running, like, maybe 1, maybe 2 of those good auras in your deck. And when you have this card, which is so abysmal if you don't have those auras, and is just, like, fine value if you do, those two things together just don't equal, I think, a good card. So I am not high on Druid of Horns. I just wish this was a cast, and then it's like, okay, if you're in green-white and you have like a lot of like the pacifism auras, then I'm in on this, because it's like, oh, you cast, you pacify your thing, got a guy. But the fact that I have to put this on this guy, and he doesn't have relevant keywords, like that green aura first, like I want to put that on a flyer or a trampler, not this jump. So yeah, not a fan of Druid of the Horns. Cool art though. It's almost reminiscent, like, of it's like bordering on kind of like almost Therese Nielsen's style, with kind of like the less defined edges and whatnot. And I like that. I like that, especially with Battle Bond and now this one, that they're allowing a little bit more flexibility in the styles of the artists, which is nice. Next up we have Druid of the Cowl, which is a 2-mana 1/3 that you can tap to add 1 green mana. This was a great card in Kaladesh, and honestly it's a great card still. I actually think this was Aether Revolt, but yeah, I mean, like, 2-mana 1/3 is like a fine blocker, and the fact that it comes with the mana dork and helps you rampage your bigger stuff is very nice. Like, in limited, I honestly believe that this is better than Llanowar Elves, because it's like, you're not playing this toon deck, and like this one gives you value as a blocker, it blocks early threats, it ramps you, and I'm all about that. So I'm very happy to pick up, like, honestly the first like 3 Druid of the Cowls, maybe more. For like kind of like the go big green decks, like this is exactly what you want. So yeah. Next up is Dryad Greenseeker, which is a 2-mana 1/3, and you may tap it to look at the top card of your library. If it's a land card, you may reveal it and put it in your hand. This is amazing. This is so good. Like, obviously, like, this isn't tap draw card every turn, but like about a third of your deck is going to be land, and this is a 1/3 that end of turn you get to tap it and essentially draw a third of a card. And that's great. Like, it gets to stay up as a blocker all the other times, and the other times you get to, like, filter out your lands and make sure you're not getting, like, dead draws end of turn. I don't think it's as good as, like, a looter, but otherwise I think it's perfectly, it's, like, a really solid, like, card to be running, and gives you great card advantage, great late game, because it's like, it helps you like just not brick on lands and things like that. It helps you hit your land drops if you want them, and yeah, no, I very much like Triad Greenseeker. Next we have Elvish Clan Caller, which is green for a 1/1 that gives other elves you control +1/+1, and you pay 6 and tap it to search your library for a card named Elvish Clan Caller, put it on the battlefield, and shuffle your library. That second line of text isn't as important. I think this is not great. Obviously, I'll say that now, and then like it'll be just like the zombies, and we'll be like see like 50 different elves. But unlike goblins, which were like speeding up tokens and things like that, or like, and like there are a fair few elves, but I think it's fine. Like if you have the elves, but its stats alone are bad. It's if you're looking at the lords, I think the best lord is the Goblin Lord, followed probably by the Zombie Lord. Wait, what was the White Lord? I'm forgetting that now. But then like the Blue Lord. But then this one is just like, yeah, if you get the elves, it's not bad. But it on its own just doesn't do much, so if you have the elves, go for it. And if you get it early, like you can go your way to get elves, but it's like not the end of the world if you don't get them. So sorry, Elven Clan Caller. Awesome robes though, I love that. Next up is Elvish Rejuvenator, which is a 3-mana 1/1 where when it enters battlefield, you look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may put a land from among them onto the battlefield tapped. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any random order. So this doesn't search your library. They were trying to reduce the amount of shuffling in the format. But in limited, like hitting the top 5 cards, if you don't hit a single land card in that, that's honestly like, it's one of those situations, you play this turn 3, you either get to ramp yourself, which is fine. I think like 3-mana 1/1 and you get to ramp yourself is fine, and I play that. But if you don't hit it, okay, good, you just shipped 5 like cards at the bottom, and like it helps you get to your land drops, because like usually you're keeping like hands with about 3 lands out, and at this point you've run out of lands or close to running out, and if you weren't hitting lands the next 5 turns, you were in trouble. So it's kind of like that second situation is obviously worse because you don't get to ramp, you just paid a 3-mana 1/1, but you did get to scry 5 cards that weren't lands to the bottom, so that's not bad. So I don't think it's anything amazing, and like don't run too many of these because it is a 3-mana 1/1, but yeah, I mean, this is by no means Grow from the Ashes and Dominaria, because Grow from the Ashes was green Dominaria because it helps you splash. This does not really help you splash that much. And like it was a very slow format, and like being able to like cast it for 5 and get 2 things out was really useful. This one is just kind of like, hey, some acceleration with upside. I still believe Druid of the Cowl is so much better than this, but this is, you could do worse. Next up is Ghastbark Twins, which is a 7-mana 7/7 trample that can block an additional creature each combat. It is a 7-drop, so you usually want like some amount of ramp in your deck, be it like Druid of the Cowls or that one we just looked at. But honestly, 7-mana 7/7 trample, that's just like, it's a slightly bigger Colossal Dreadmaw with relevant upside on the defensive. Because it's like a 7/7 does block quite well, and blocking additional thing is also quite nice, so I'm down for this. I wouldn't run more than 1, but I think it's cool. Also get more tree folk. Yeah. Not much else to say. Next up is Gearper Guide, which is a 3-mana 3/2 that you can make maybe 3, and to have target creature you control cannot be blocked by creatures of power 2 or less this turn. This never was great in Kaladesh, and Kaladesh could be a very fast format at times. And that said, I feel it could be possibly sideboard. Like 3-mana 3/2 is not great, but it's not unplayable. But it's not a premium 3-drop. obviously if you're playing against a token deck, its value goes up because it can essentially make your creatures unblockable to an extent. But I'm still not huge on Gearper Guide. Like, I'd rather just have like a solid 3-drop or like a Trampler that already gets around creatures, small creatures blocking it, so not huge on Gearper Guide. Next we have Giant Spider, which is a 4-mana 2/4 with reach, and it's a classic. I don't think this is good in this format. Mammoth Spider was great and is like real solid in Dominaria, but if we're looking at like a lot of the flying threats, a 2/4 does not stop. You're looking at dragons and like a lot of big blue flyers, a lot of like quite a few big black spot flyers. You don't have as many of like the little tiny like get in flyers as other formats do. Like obviously, like if they do have some of those cards, like sideboard this in, but the Giant Spider I just don't think is doing enough in this format. Yeah, no, that's really all I have to say. Like Mammoth Spider was a different story because like a 3/5 blocks so much more stuff, and a 2/4 just does not block all that much, and it doesn't block that well. So yeah, sorry Giant Spider. I don't think this is the format for you. Next is Gift of Paradise, which is a 3-mana enchantment aura with enchant land. Again, this is an aura, like could go in the aura deck, but that doesn't work with that one like guy that make beasts. And enchant lands has tap 2, add 2 mana of any one color. So like kind of it fixes your mana, which is relevant if you want to splash, and like this is a fine splash card. Gives you a little life, which isn't bad. I think this is fine. It didn't see much play in like Amonkhet and such, just because it was so fast and this was like just too slow and early a lot of the time. If the format ends up being being slower than Amonkhet is kind of hard, but because that was a format where like, oh, you didn't have a 2-drop, you're dead. But Gift of Art I think is fine. Like giving you a little life like is a nice buffer if you are getting beaten down on. It helps you ramp you, and there are a few cards that just care about enchantments and auras that aren't that guy, and obviously it goes well with that. And it fixes you, so it's like, I'd say like if you need the ramp and you need the fixing, or heavily of both, it's playable, but you're not going out of your way for this. Next up is Gigantosaurus, which is green for a 10/10 dinosaur. I do not think this is good. Green, 5 green, is very difficult to cast in limited, and the fact that the 10/10 without trample or any relevant stats, honestly, there comes a point where being a 10/10 is not that useful. Like, stats stop being useful after being like a 6/6 or a 7/7, unless you're hustling with other 6/6s and 7/7s. So, I'm not big on Gigantosaurus, as funny as it is, but yeah, no, don't like Gigantosaurus. Run Colossal Dreadmaw over this. I think it's better. Next is Goreglaw, Terror of Qualsima, which is a 4-mana 4/3 with creature spells you cast with power 4 or greater cost 2 less to cast. And whenever Goreglaw's Terror of Qualsima attacks, each creature you control with power 4 or greater gets +1/+1 and gains trample until end of turn. Okay, first off, 4-mana 4/3, great. Legendary Bear, very great. Okay, 4-mana 4/3, not great, but like passable. Giving you ramp on most of the stuff, like the stuff that you want to reduce the cost of, is the things of power 4 and greater usually. So very relevant ramp. Like you can play this turn 4, turn 5, play that 7-drop like Tree Folk. Like that's so great. And the fact that you get to give your other guy, like your big guys that don't already have trample, +1/+1, and like if you're in that dragon deck, that's like super great. And like also the fact that also it attacks, it gives its own ability to itself. So it attacks as a 5/3 trample, which is for 4, which is so amazing. I'm very into Goreclaw, Terror of Calcima. Also, great name. But, yeah, no. This is just a great beater, great card. Yeah. I mean, it has ramp, it has relevant things, it gives relevant keywords, it has good stats herself, and yeah. Next up is Greenwood Sentinel, which is a 2/2 with Vigilance for 2. It's fine. It's a 2-drop. Use it to fill out your curve, but you're not going out of your way for this. It's fine. Not much to say. Also, we are seeing enough elves yet, so we're doing the zombie thing again, where, like, the Lord goes up a little bit, but at least with the Zombie Lord, it was a 2/2 for 3, which I think is better than a 1/1 for 2. So, I still don't really love the Lord, but it's fine. Next up is Highland Game, which is a 2-mana 2/1, and when it dies, you gain 2 life. This is like the opposite of the Viashino, whatchamacallit, in red, which did 2 damage when it enters battlefield and was a piker. Where I was on the fence about this one, dealing damage to your opponent is so much better than gaining life, so I'm not high on Highland Game. But yeah, no. I'm not a fan of this. It's just not great stats for its mana cost. Like, if you absolutely need to fill out your mana curve, sure, but you're not happy to play this. Hungering Hydra, which is X and a green for a 0/0 that enters with X+1/+1 counters on it. It cannot be blocked by more than one creature. Whenever it's dealt damage, put that many +1/+1 counters on it. This is very, very, very good. Okay? It scales with the game nicely, so if you draw out the game, it comes out as a huge threat that it doesn't have trample, which is an issue, but once it gets going, this is a creature that gets bigger every time and is eating a creature every turn. It's an abyss, and if they don't have an unconditional removal for it, or able to get it when it's small, it'll just take over the game. And I think that's really great. And the fact that it's X in its casting cost makes it really flexible when it's cast. Obviously, ideally you want to be probably paying X at least equal to 4, preferably higher. But obviously it will always be kind of failing the vanilla test, but you can read the board and see when what level of height, if you want to hold on to it, or if they're going all white of tokens and stuff, you can probably play it as a X=3 or X=4 and be happy with that and be able to start getting in. But yeah, no, it's just very good. It scales with the game, it does work, it gets bigger, it is an eventuality that they have to deal with. Naturalize, which is 1 green for an instant, destroy target artifact or enchantment. It's a sideboard card. Run it if you have things you need to kill. If you don't run it mainboard. This isn't a naturalized mainboard format. It's naturalized. What else do you want to say? Next up is Oaken Form, which is a 3-mana enchantment that gives enchanted creature +3/+3. I think you could compare this to that first one we did, which gives you +1/+1 for each forest you control. And that one I was already on the fence on. I think this one is a strictly worse version. Because, sure, if you have less than 3 forests, this is better. But you're usually playing that aura that was same mana cost, gives +1/+1, probably turn 6 or later. And you already have 3 forests in play on average by then. So that one is at base level and it grows and scales the game and it works better that way. And this one just doesn't do enough. It doesn't give relevant keywords. If you're in this a green-blue flyers deck or have any other sorts of flyers, it obviously gets slightly playable. But I'm not big on Oaken Form. Palaka Worm. It's Palaka Worm. Everyone likes a Palaka Worm. It is 4 green. It has 7 mana for a 7/7 trample, and when it enters battlefield, you gain 7 life. When it dies, you may draw a card. Or you draw a card, there's no may. I don't need to tell you that Palaka is very good. It is a 7-mana 7/7 trample. We saw before, but that's nice. It gains you 7 life. That's a lot of life to gain on a 7/7 trample. Oh, and look, it replaces itself. It's Palaka. Play your Palaka. This is a bomb. It's Palaka. Palaka. This has been brought to you by the Palaka something council. I don't know. The Palaka doesn't need a council. It's Palaka. Also, Palaka is fun to say. Try saying it. It's fun. Palaka. Yeah. Next is Plummet, which is 1 green for an instant. Destroy target creature with flying. Okay. This is a cyborg card. And I think it still is a cyborg card. But as a cyborg card, you want to prioritize. Because most, I think, the big threats in this format are flyers. And this is a good answer to those flyers between the legendary dragons. In Sealed it gets really important, but the legendary dragons, or the elder dragons, all the dragons and the other ones, the giant demons, all the big blue flyers. Like, there are a lot of flyers in this format, and I didn't say what it did. It's 1 in a blue, instant, destroy target creature with flying. Yeah, no. I think this is one that you're going to want to actually prioritize early in draft. I don't know if this will be a format where you want to run one main board. I don't think it's quite there, but it's one that you will be very happy to have several in your sideboard, because there's a lot of stuff you're going to want to kill. Yeah. Next up is Prodigious Growth. It is a 6-mana enchantment aura, and it gives enchanted creature +7/+7 and trample. Okay, it is a 6-mana aura, but in many ways it ends up just kind of being a 6-mana deal 7, and you also get that stats left over if they don't have an answer to it. And this is one where it's like, most auras it's like, oh, you get 2 for 1, but it's like, this one has enough upside. It's like, if they don't answer this, they lose the game. If this is on, like, it doesn't even need to be on a flyer, because you get +1/+7/+7 and trample. If it just gave +1/+7/+7, this would be garbage. Okay, not garbage, but, like, not great. But the fact that it also gives trample, it's just, like, such an inevitability. And yeah, I don't know what else to say. It's just, like, obviously, normal stuff, make sure don't play it into, like, open, like, removal mana and things like that. But it's like, normally you're going to be playing this pre-combat, swinging in with it, and just, like, either eating their entire board, or oftentimes just, like, dealing, like, at least, like, I imagine, like, at least 10 damage, given, like, because you're not going to put this in, like, 1/1, but, yeah, no, Prodigious Growth, that's an enchantment. But again, like, this is obviously a very good one, but this is not our common enchantments. This is rare, and rares don't make an archetype in Limited. Next up is a Rabid Bite, which is 1 green for sorcery. Target creature you control deals damage to its power to target creature you don't control. Important to note that this is not a fight effect. They don't do damage to each other, and it's just good there. This is your common green removal, and obviously it's like one of the better common green removals that we see all the time. Like, it not being a fight effect makes it so much more versatile. You're not, like, having to, like, make the risk of 2 for 1 yourself, or opening up to, like, ooh, they have a combat trick, and all of a sudden, oh no, we ate your creature. Sure, they might have a combat trick and, like, oh no, our guy survives, but then you just 1 for 1 yourself and not 2 for 1 yourself, and it's very good. Obviously you need to have those creatures to, like, that fight, like, not fight, but, like, have enough power to, like, do that, but that's not usually a problem. You're already in green, and this is just a very good card. Yeah. Next up is Reclamation Sage. It's a 3-mana 2/1 that, when it enters battlefield, destroy target artifact or enchantment. It's fine. I mean, it's a sideboard card. and obviously better than Naturalize when you do have it, when you have the option to, but it's Rec Sage. It's a Cyber card. There's not much else to say. Like, I'm willing to pay 1 extra mana for a 2/1 body on my Naturalize effect, so yeah. Next up is Recollect, which is 2 and green for return target card from your graveyard to your hand. It's fine. You might run one, like, especially if it's like a powerful card that you might want to repeat or do stuff. But it's fine. Like, it is 3 mana, so like that is a fair amount of mana that you're paying for this effect. And oftentimes you, like, if it's a powerful like card you want to recast, like, you oftentimes won't be able to recast it that turn, but it can buy you back a removal spell or a powerful creature or your bomb that you got rid of, and that can be very relevant. I might run one, but I'm not going out of my way for this card. Next up is Rock's Oracle, which is a 5 mana 4/2 that when it enters battlefield, draw a card. It is a 5 mana creature that's a 5/2, which is not great. But the fact that it replaces itself makes me like not like it, like don't mind it. Like, it replaces itself. It is a 5 mana 4/2, which blocks well and can attack well. It's 4 power, which is relevant for a lot of things we've seen that are like care about things that are 4 power or greater. Like, obviously you don't want too many because like it is a 5-drop and those can be hard to hit. At times, like, don't run more than like 3 5-drops, but that said, this is a real solid 5-drop. Like, anything that replaces itself, like, is definitely worth considering, and this replaces itself and comes with decent stats. So, yeah, I like Rock's Oracle. Also, we got Rock's back. Next up is Root Snare, which is 1 green for an instant. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt this turn. It's a fog effect. It's not good and limited. Don't play it. Yeah. Like, sure, it can blow people out and be really good, but generally, it's not great. Like, the good fog effects are the ones that are one-sided that you can use in combat to, like, blink out everything, but yeah. Like, usually this will, like, oh, I bought myself a turn, instead of being, like, anything good. Like, yeah, not big on Root Snare. Next up is Runic Armasaur, which is a 3 mana 2/5, which says, whenever an opponent activates an ability of a creature or land that isn't a mana ability, you may draw a card. Okay, so that ability isn't super relevant and limited. Like, there might be creatures that are activating the abilities of, and they will probably just avoid activating them. But it's a 3 mana 2/5, and those are stats I'm in for. It's a great blocker. Also, it looks sweet. Like, that nice, like, Stegosaurus look with, like, cool, like, designs into its, like, backplates. Yeah! No, but just, like, ignore that ability, which is sometimes relevant upside, but it's a 3 mana 2/5, and I'm in for that. Next up is Scape Shift, which is 2 green for a sorcery. Sacrifice any number of lands. Search your library for that many land cards, put them on the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle your library. Well, this format doesn't have Valakut in it, so I would say this is not good for limited. I mean, you'll probably take it because it is worth money. But essentially the main thing that this does is that, like, it will thin your deck of lands. But I don't want to spend a card doing that. I mean, there's something to be said for, I don't know, because it's like, you're spending a card on that, but you're spending like 4 mana to do nothing, but you could like kind of ensure that you almost never draw a land for the rest of the turns if you're like, If the format ends up being super grindy and control-y, I could see this potentially being decent. And if you're super lucky and get Shapeshift and Crucible Worlds, then maybe there's something to be said there, but that's just such a far remote dream that it's like, no. But that said, Shapeshift, I don't think is playable, for the most part. If it ends up being like a snail's pace format, then maybe, because it's like, it'll thin your deck, and that's really all that you're doing with it. But you'll take this for the money, and then be happy with it. It's really cool though that we're getting like really good reprints in just like these sets that Wizards has like the era of master sets is kind of on its wane. They've talked about that, and the fact that now they're taking the stuff they would normally be printing in master sets and just putting them in normal sets makes a very happy Lily. Yes, you should put reprints in normally priced packs. Help actually like make Magic affordable and stuff like that. But next up is Talons of Wildwood, which is 1 green for Enchanted Creature. Enchanted Creature gets +1/+1, has Trample, and you may pay 2 and a green to return it from your graveyard to your hand. I'm in. The fact that it gets itself back is huge. Like, 1 and a green giving something +1/+1 Trample, I think it's fine. Like, it's stat boost with like a relevant keyword, and if you want those aura synergies and you're trying to make that deck work, it's not bad. But the fact that you get to just keep recurring this, and essentially this is a threat for the rest of the game, and you can get to kind of like, in many ways it almost functions almost like kind of like an equipment. And if there was an equipment that was like equip 5, but I mean, granted, you don't have to like do it all at the same time. It's like more like equip 2 and get it back for 3, like when you have spare mana. But like give +1/+1 and Trample, I think that'd be playable. And yeah, no, I like Talons of Wildwood, and if you have any of the synergies that like let you like just keep cycling this through, that makes it better, and it's hard for your opponent to get rid of. So obviously, like with all auras, you don't want to be running too many of them because you want also to have creatures to be casting them on. But as for the common auras that isn't like a removal aura, this is the one I'm like probably one of the most interested in. Next up is Thorn Lieutenant, which is a 2-mana 2/3 with whenever it becomes the target of a spell or an ability an opponent controls, create a 1/1 green elf warrior token. 6 mana. Thorn Lieutenant gets +4/+4 until end of turn. Okay, it's a 2-mana 2/3. I'm already in for that. The fact that like if it eats a removal spell, you get a 1/1 back, I'm in for that. And it can boost itself late game. This is great. This is honestly probably one of the better 2-drops in the format. There's not much controversy or things to discuss. Like, this is just like all around a very good card. So yeah, it's a card. Also elves. It's kind of weird for me because like elves haven't really been a thing as a deck in like since Origins, really. So it's like all the time I've played Magic, like a lot of like the key tribes like goblins and elves haven't been around because like started during Shadows and just hasn't been there, and like all of a sudden like they're coming back, which is like cool and exciting. But yeah. Next is Thornhide Wolves, which is a 5-mana 4/5. It's fine. There's better 5 drops. I mean, if you need to fill out your slot, which normally you don't have problems filling out your 5-drop slot, like not having enough 5 drops is not a problem for a limited deck. But it's fine if you need to, but it's nothing amazing. Next up is Titanic Growth, which is a 2-mana combat trick, which gives target creature +4/+4 until end of turn. This will cause you to win most fights, and sometimes you can use it to just push through 4 damage to your opponent. And it's a fine combat trick. It's nothing amazing, like it is a combat trick, but it's not one you're embarrassed to run, and it works. It does what it does very well. Next up is Vigilant Baloth, which is a 5-mana 5/5 Vigilance. I'm fine. I'm happy with 5-mana 5/5s, and giving it Vigilance makes it a great blocker, and it gets in, and yeah, no, this is a 5-drop I'm happy to play. What a good Baloth. Yeah. And next up is Vinemare, which is a 4-mana 5/3 hexproof. Vinemare can't be blocked by black creatures. I think this is the first hexproof creature we've seen. And if there were more hexproof creatures, I'd be more into the auras and whatnot. But this is the first one. Where, okay, on its surface, if you don't have any auras, 4-mana 5/3 hexproof that cannot be blocked by black creatures. I mean, the cannot be blocked is like relevant against some decks, but not the super important. I mean, it's fine. Like, the thing is, like, hexproof creatures, like, they essentially just demand to be answered in combat. And 3 toughness is very easily answered in combat, so it's like the hexproof isn't super relevant. And 4 mana 5/3 is not wonderful stats. It's not the worst stats, like, but it's not something I'm looking to do. I'd be much more into this if it was a 3/4/5. But that said, if you do have some of the better auras that like help you make it bigger and like make it a bit more of a threat, if you're in that like auras deck and you have a few auras already, I think it goes up in value. But I don't really think that it's that great, but it's fine. I think it's playable and it's a card you're not unhappy running, but it's no blowout. It's no creature that's like, oh, that comes down like a lot of other hexproof things. That's like, oh no, how do I deal with this? You deal with it by putting a 3-power creature in front of it. And that's not that hard. Next was Vivian Reed, which is a 5 mana, 5 loyalty planeswalker. With +1, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature or land card from among them and put in your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. -3, destroy target artifact, enchantment, or creature with flying. And -8, you can emblem with creatures you control get +2/+2, have vigilance, trample, and indestructible. Okay, that last one is actually not that far away from being able to like reasonably do, and that'll obviously like win you the game, assuming you have creatures out. But it's a 5 mana 5 loyalty planeswalker that draws you a card every turn. If you look at the top 5 cards, the 4 cards, and you don't find a land or a creature, what green deck and limited are you playing? And I'll say just getting you a card every turn is very relevant and like good card selection at that. So it's -3 can be relevant. Like that is a sideboard effect that you're usually looking for, but there are like the things that kill planeswalkers easiest are flyers, and this will kill a flyer that's coming after it. So yeah, no, I really like Vivian Reed. I think I like Tezzeret more because Tezzeret protects himself a bit more and can potentially draw more cards in the right deck. But I think Vivian is easily the second best planeswalker in the format. So yeah, I like Vivian. Also, she's hot. And we have Vivian's Invocation, which is a 7 mana sorcery. Look at the top 7 cards of your library. You may put a creature from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any random order. When a creature is put on the battlefield with this way, it deals damage to its power equal to target creature your opponent controls. So, you look at the top 7, you get to find a creature, which hopefully you'll find like a big thing, but even if you find like a mid-roll thing, like a 3 or 4 drop, you're pretty happy, because then usually you get to kill like a medium-sized thing that your opponent controls. Now, obviously, if you hit something big, like the, if you hit your Palaka Worm, that's obviously very great, and like, you get to just Palaka Worm their face, but, I like this, like, it's 7 mana, and there is the chance to whiff, like, you only get, like, your Druid of the Cowl, and you don't get to do much, but then, even then, it's like, oh no, I looked at the top 7 cards of my library, and there were no big creatures in it. It's like, well, I'm glad those 7 cards aren't at the bottom, or on the bottom of your library now, and you hopefully can draw into your good creatures now, so yeah, no, I like Vivian's Invocation. Obviously it is 7 mana, you don't want to have too many like 6 and 7 drops in your deck, so like you probably want a little bit of ramp with it, but I quite like it. And next was Wall of Vines, which is 1 green mana for an 0/3 with Defender and Reach. I'm not big on this because, like I said, a lot of the flyers that you would want Reach creatures for are not big. Like, yes, there are Thopters, and like if you're playing against a deck that has a lot of Thopters, maybe you'll sideboard this in. But I'm not huge on this. Like, all of the flyers that you want defenders against, or not defend, well, Reach creatures with, like, are just gonna tear through this. This jumps once and then dies. So, unless you have Arcadius, don't play this. And that is it for green. So I'm not big on this whole aura deck still, and I don't like, honestly I think most of the green-white deck will just be like green-white creature value and not strictly auras. But that said, I like green. Lots of good big green creatures that I like, and I don't know, I like green. I like my creatures. Yeah. But yeah, so, well, that's it for this episode. We have one episode to go where we talk about gold and artifact cards, so I will talk to you all then. If you have any disagreements on any of my assessments, let me know, and I want to get better at this game too, and yeah. Well, we'll talk to the rest of you all later, and I hope you have a wonderful night. And may your stories smile upon you.